Hello guys, Croft here. Squid Game presents a brutal, hierarchical caricature of our society. From the players and the guards to the salesman, the frontman and the VIPs, the game has a ruthless hierarchy. And the third season finally reveals the missing gaps, so let's explain each role and rank in order. The lowest level isn't even the players, it's what I call the human objects, as seen in episode 7 of the first season. These individuals are the extreme embodiment of objectification. They are stripped naked and used as literal pieces of furniture for the elite. They are dehumanized to the point of being treated as inanimate tools, showing how the elite reduce others to mere objects for their pleasure. These people have even fewer rights than the players and can be killed at the whims of the VIPs for minor disobedience. But the first and the lowest rank of the game is 456 desperate individuals, lured onto the island by the promise of a massive cash prize. The promise of the Squid Game is simple: if players survive all 6 games, they will get an enormous prize, around $40 million. All players wear identical green tracksuits with white numbers, inspired by the 70s Korean school uniforms. This design evokes both childhood nostalgia and the institutional feel of prison or military uniforms, symbolizing how players are stripped of their identity and reduced to numbers. And the use of children's games turned deadly is a disturbing metaphor for the perversion of innocence in capitalist systems, where people are often forced to compete ruthlessly for survival. While real-life capitalism doesn't usually result in literal death, failure to compete can lead to social death, poverty, exclusion, or despair. In the capitalist society, money is the most important thing, so in the show, this is symbolized by the giant piggy bank of prize money, suspended above the arena like a glowing god. Players are often addicted in debt or broken by life, so the game exploits their desperation to the fullest, coercing them into risking their lives for the illusion of a second chance. Though all players wear the same uniform, supposedly symbolizing fairness and equality, the truth is far more complicated. Winners often survive through luck, prior real-world knowledge, or outright corruption, like the doctor who secretly receives information about the next game, or a former glass factory worker who recognizes tempered glass in the bridge game. Trying to make all players equal, the game attempts to mimic a communist ideal, offering society's failures a new opportunity. However, this attempt is deeply flawed. So ironically, Squid Game ends up critiquing both capitalism and communism at the same time, suggesting that both systems still fail a large group of individuals. So the show actually critiques both capitalism and communism by portraying a system that tries to fix capitalism's cruelty through artificial equality. The frontman, who is the ultimate authority in the games, genuinely believes that Squid Games offer a fair and equal chance to those failed by the capitalist system. However, his belief is revealed to be deeply false. Players still cheat, break the rules, and most importantly, player 001, the elderly man who appears to be just another contestant, is secretly the game's mastermind. He is never in danger and his participation is purely for entertainment. Players can be killed at any time for breaking the rules, emphasizing they are at the complete mercy of the system. Their deaths, and even the deaths of guards, are all part of a twisted spectacle for the entertainment of some wealthy old man. And this is actually a reflection of real-world political and economic power structures where decisions affecting millions of lives are often made by aging elites, completely removed from the consequences. Although the players are the lowest level in the game, they are not entirely powerless. The rules state that if the majority agrees to stop the game, it will end. So this small sliver of democratic power introduces a complex political metaphor. In Season 2, players are required to wear badges that publicly display their decision to stay or leave the game, creating 2 separate factions that resemble political parties. One group wants to continue playing in hopes of a big reward, mirroring the right-wing ideals of a large gain for a few, while the other wants to quit now and share a smaller prize more fairly, similar to left-wing redistributionist ideologies. These 2 groups often fight due to their radically different views on the direction their larger collective should take. suggesting that many social and political battles are rooted not in natural human differences, but in the system that force people into competition. The show implies that maybe under different conditions people could cooperate rather than kill each other, a scratching critique of the structures that govern modern life. The level above the players consists of the guards, who come in 3 types: circle, triangle, and square, each with specific roles and privileges. They are selected in the same way as the players, with senior guards deciding whether a contestant will become a player or a guard based on their skills and personality type. Guards have a clear hierarchy: circles obey to triangles and triangles to squares. In any system, whether capitalist or communist, enforcers are crucial. Without them, the system wouldn't function. Just like the players, guards have strict rules they must follow, otherwise they too can be killed. This illustrates that even the enforcers of the system are also victims of it. Like the players, guards are also stripped of their identity. In fact, they appear even more dehumanized. They all wear identical uniforms with only the shape of their mask distinguishing them. They are forbidden to speak to each other and must obey orders or face execution. Unlike the players, they have no chance of winning a grand prize, and it's actually unclear how much they're getting paid. Although the players face deadlier consequences, both players and guards are equally oppressed, which is another commentary on how in a corrupt system everyone suffers except the top 1%. Even though all guards wear pink uniforms, certain guards must obey others as their roles differ depending on the shape on their mask. Circles, aka workers, are the lowest rank. Circle mask guards perform basic labor and maintenance: cleaning blood, disposing of corpses, preparing meals, and following orders from higher-ups. They are forbidden from speaking unless addressed by a superior. When Detective Yun-Ho infiltrates the facility in Season 1, he initially wears a circle mask and is treated like a complete grunt. They primarily answer to squares, but also subordinate to triangles. The next level in the hierarchy are the triangle guards, aka soldiers, who are mid-level enforcers with guns. Triangle mask guards carry weapons, enforce order, and execute contestants who break rules or lose games. They command the circle workers and are often seen leading players at gunpoint or standing guard during events. However, they all must follow orders from square mask superiors. Squares are the 4th layer in the hierarchy and they perform the role of managers. They are also the highest ranking guards among the pink-suited staff. They directly report to Frontman, or in Season 2, to the Black Guard when the Frontman is absent. Square mask guards coordinate the games, monitor TV screens, and give verbal instructions over intercoms. They supervise the triangles and circles, ensuring the rules are followed. When Jun-Ho later disguises himself with a square mask, he is expected to command circle and triangle guards. However, all guards, regardless of rank, follow strict rules. Masks must never be removed, talking is restricted, and obedience is absolute. The Frontman enforces these rules harshly. For example, when a guard's face is exposed to a player, the Frontman executes him in front of others to maintain fear and anonymity. The masked guards symbolize how authoritarian systems demand obedience by erasing individuality. Their identical uniforms and rigid hierarchy mirror real-world institutions like the military, prison systems, and police forces, where personal identity is replaced by role and rank. However, Squid Game exaggerates this to a dystopian level. The guards are so dehumanized that even showing a face is punishable by death. This extreme level of enforced anonymity serves 2 purposes. It protects the system from exposure and transforms the guards into tools of authority, not thinking individuals. The mask gives them power while removing accountability, allowing ordinary people to commit atrocities. And this tells us a dark truth about systemic violence. When people are protected by uniforms and take orders from above, they dissociate from their actions as if performing a role rather than making moral choices. A unique square guard is the fisherman, who was once part of the island's hierarchy but was later granted permission to operate outside of it. Captain Park is a square guard who was entrusted with the task of returning the Frontman's brother to the mainland. He was later asked to keep an eye on Jun-Ho during his investigation, deliberately steering him away from any real clues leading to the island. Captain Park clearly holds the ultimate trust of the Frontman, enjoying greater power, freedom, and the rare privilege of operating beyond the island's borders. However, all guards must answer to the Black Guard. Season 2 introduces the Black Guard, officially referred to as the Masked Officer. He is the Frontman's right hand and serves as second in command of the entire operation, overseeing the staff when the Frontman is unavailable. In Season 2, the Masked Officer actively coordinates the organ trafficking, aiming to accumulate additional profits. In fact, he actually briefly appeared even in Season 1 wearing a black coat, a subtle foreshadowing of his more prominent role in Season 2. While the Frontman is a true believer in the ideology behind Squid Games, the Masked Officer is focused solely on maximizing profit. So he secretly violates the core principles of the games right under the Frontman's nose. So the Black Guard represents the corrupt middleman, arguably even more despicable than the Frontman, because he believes in nothing except money and personal gain. For the Frontman, the game is sacred, it has become his belief system. But for the Masked Officer, it's nothing more than a money-making operation. He has no loyalty to the rules, the ideology, or even basic morality. This makes him a stark contrast to possibly the biggest believer in Squid Game, the Salesman. The Salesman position may seem somewhat ambiguous in the hierarchy. However, given the fact that there are photos showing the Salesman fishing together with the Frontman as friends, it's likely that he ranks even above the Masked Guard. The Salesman isn't present on the island, however, he plays a crucial role in the initiation of the deadly cycle. He roams public spaces in a fancy suit, luring desperate individuals into simple games for cash. The Salesman's main objective is recruitment. He identifies people in financial despair and then tests their willingness to participate. Typically, he plays these small games with people off the streets until they win, gaining their trust, which makes them more likely to join the mysterious competition unaware that it's actually deadly. The Salesman is almost like the devil in disguise. He earns people's trust by giving them money, only to eventually take something far greater, their lives. He's like the devil at the crossroads, offering people their deepest desire, money, at an unspecified and horrifying price. The way he preys on vulnerable people reflects how the marginalized in society are often drawn into predatory schemes, whether gambling, scams, or dangerous work, because they are so desperate. There's also something cartoonishly evil about him. He is a caricature of a slimy, sadistic salesman, fully willing to sell nightmares disguised as opportunity. Since Squid Game is largely a critique of economic systems, particularly capitalism, which thrives on marketing and sales, the Salesman becomes a living caricature of a sales-driven society and its dark side. However, the Salesman also functions as the bridge between the real world and the Squid Game island, as every contestant is personally recruited by him. It's assumed that he's the only salesman operating in Korea, so it appears that every city or a country has its own version of this figure. And this is confirmed at the end of Season 3, where a female Squid Game recruiter is revealed in Los Angeles, mirroring his role. However, what's particularly interesting is the Salesman backstory. He once worked within the Squid Game as a circle guard, and due to his unwavering loyalty, he was promoted and allowed to operate outside the island to recruit new participants. Unlike the corrupt Black Guard, the Salesman truly believes in the Squid Game philosophy. He believes in it so much that he's willing to die for it, literally. In a deadly debate with Gihan about human nature, the Salesman argues that the people who entered the Squid Game are society's discarded human trash with no value in the real world. In his view, these individuals have already been rejected by the system, so the game simply puts them out of their misery. He sees the brutality of the Squid Game not as cruelty, but as the last test for those who have already failed. However, Gihan completely rejects his worldview. He sees the game not as a solution to injustice, but as a cruel parody of fairness, designed only for the entertainment of the rich. As they play Russian roulette, both stand by their beliefs to the death. But whether by fate or pure chance, it's the Gihan who comes out alive. Gihan also concludes that no one should risk their life for money, and that so-called choice offered to participants is an illusion. This clash of worldviews is further explored in Gihan's confrontation with the Frontman, another true believer in the Squid Game philosophy. All officers, players, and even the salesman fall below the Frontman, who's the supreme leader of the game and the top manager overseeing everything. He holds the ultimate power over both guards and players. The Frontman coordinates the event on behalf of the unseen hosts and the VIPs. By the end of Season 1, he is unmasked as Won In-ho, a former police officer, past game winner, and the missing brother of Detective Junho. His primary duty is to run the entire Squid Game operation. He directly manages all staff and serves as the intermediary between the games and the shadowy VIP financiers. Disillusioned with the outside world and its corrupt systems, especially the failure of the police, In-ho adopts a new ideology centered around the Squid Game that offers a fatalistic last chance to the desperate, all or nothing. He has completely lost faith in the capitalist, rules-based world. In his view, the games provide contestants with a truly fair chance to win and change their lives. The Frontman religiously insists that the games are equal, every player follows the same rules and receives the same opportunity, unlike the injustice and inequality of the outside world. For example, in Season 2, we see the police system completely ignore Junho's concerns about the missing people, highlighting that the system works only for the rich. In contrast, the Frontman believes that Squid Game gives everyone a fair chance, which is why he rigorously enforces the rules, even executing guards who break them to maintain the illusion of fairness. The Frontman believes in the games so deeply that he personally participates in them in Season 2, and he tries to personally convince Gihan that his views are wrong. While Gihan wants to end the games because they're so cruel and exploitative, the Frontman holds the opposite perspective. He sees the games as a form of salvation for people who are otherwise discarded by society. So Season 2 can be seen as a clash of these two different worldviews, the Frontman versus Gihan. The Frontman also believes that humans are inherently flawed and that some of them are pure trash, but the game offers them a chance of liberation. Gihan, on the other hand, believes in the better aspects of human nature: kindness, solidarity, and sacrifice. These ideologies collide during the games as some players risk their lives to help others, while others betray and kill for their own survival. Season 2 provides deeper insights about Frontman's past life through flashbacks and exposition. Won In-ho worked as a police officer, but his wife died from acute cirrhosis while pregnant with their child. And despite his desperate efforts to save her, borrowing money, and even accepting a kidney donation from his brother Junho, his wife unfortunately died, which just crushed him. Things got even worse when In-ho was unjustly fired from police under suspicion of corruption. These tragedies left him extremely disappointed in mankind and the world. In Season 1, Junho infiltrates the Squid Game office and discovers records proving that his brother In-ho won the 2015 Squid Games. When the two brothers finally confront each other on the cliff in Season 1, it symbolizes a collision of two opposing perspectives: Junho, who still believes in justice and fairness, and In-ho, now the Frontman, who has completely lost faith in humanity as a whole. The Frontman was personally selected by the Mastermind, who converted him into his most loyal servant, as revealed in Season 3. Even after the Squid Game Island is gone, the Frontman escapes and the organization continues to operate, since he was praised by the VIPs as the best host the games have ever had. We will likely see him return in another series, possibly hosting the next game in the US. On the other hand, the Frontman resembles a Darth Vader-like figure. After losing everything, he turned to quote-unquote the dark side when the light side failed him, finding solace only in what he believes to be a brutal but fair game. In-ho's emotional detachment and his phrase, "the game comes first," is a commentary on how ideals and empathy can be eroded by cynicism. Although the Frontman has complete power within the game, he still ranks below the VIPs. They are the powerful and hidden elite, a cabal of ultra-wealthy patrons who finance and spectate the Squid Games for their perverse amusement. The VIPs are international billionaires, predominantly foreigners, emphasizing that this is a global elite above nation-states. The frontman's relationship with the VIPs offers a layer of social satire. He acts as a polite host, making small talk with wealthy foreigners who only see him as a mildly entertaining servant. Despite being the local authority figure, the frontman is still expected to bow down to the global billionaires bankrolling the event. This dynamic is an example of how national elites are subordinate to international capital with no borders. The VIPs, primarily American and European, symbolize the old money from the colonial legacy. In one scene, a drunk VIP slaps the frontman on the back and jokes with him. The frontman remains courteous and masked, both literally and figuratively concealing any annoyance, so it's a subtle portrayal of servitude. Although the frontman wields immense power over players and guards, he remains a servant to the ultra-rich. The VIPs are like high rollers in a private gladiator casino. They bankroll the games, and the enormous prize money comes from them, so they entertain themselves by placing bets on the outcomes. When the games aren't running, the VIPs presumably retreat into the shadows, continuing to finance the operation or perhaps even organizing similar events elsewhere. Their primary motivation appears to be boredom and the need for extreme entertainment, which is a commentary on how, when wealth reaches obscene levels, individuals seek increasingly perverted thrills. Sometimes the VIPs even take on the roles of triangle guards, personally killing unarmed contestants for their own amusement, resembling hunting safaris in Africa but taken to a whole new level. The original Mastermind, Ilnam, even admits that the ultra-rich eventually reach a point where anything we want we can buy, but at some point it gets boring. The VIPs wear animal masks, further illustrating both their lack of humanity and their status as societal ultra-predators. Additionally, the VIP embody the theme of bored spectators in modern society. Their behavior isn't that far removed from us watching reality TV shows or blood sport entertainment. The VIPs are extremely bored and derive pleasure from watching others suffer, which parallels how regular people consume violent films, shows, or video games, even though those aren't real. While most viewers may be repulsed by the VIPs, their enjoyment of human suffering stems from the very same basic instinct that attracts everyday people to violent or disturbing content. However, at the very top of the Squid Game hierarchy sits the true mastermind, Player 001, Ilnam, the old man behind it all and the original architect of the Squid Game. Introduced just as another contestant, he is later revealed to be the mastermind who participated in the games purely for his amusement. This twist is a commentary on how the political elite, often aging figures, orchestrate elaborate systems where others suffer simply for their own selfish goals. Ilnam is the founder and creator of the Squid Game. Along with a circle of ultra-wealthy associates, the VIPs, he conceived these deadly games in the 80s and hosted them periodically every year. His motive, as he admitted himself on his deathbed, is that he and his rich friends had grown numb from their endless wealth, and they wanted to feel alive again by watching others fight to survive. This could be seen as a broader commentary on the cause of endless wars throughout human history, suggesting that beyond political justifications, a deeper and more disturbing truth exists. That bored ruling elites driven by sociopathic detachment may wage wars simply to escape their own boredom, kind of like a kid who disturbs an ant hive and watches how ants fight each other. However, for Ilnam, there is also a personal reason to participate in the Squid Games. He was dying from a brain tumor and wanted to experience the excitement of the games one last time before his death. As he put it himself, he simply wanted to do something fun again with his friends. An admission that reveals just how twisted and morally corrupt he truly is. It's implied that he personally designed many of the games in Season 1 based on his childhood games he played growing up. Ilnam also mentioned that he wanted to participate in the Squid Game to relive the same sense of friendship he experienced as a child, which highlights a deep and disturbing truth. Despite all his wealth, he couldn't cure his brain tumor, nor could he get one of the most fundamental human needs, genuine connection. So this serves as a commentary on how money-driven societies excel at generating material surplus, yet they often erode emotional foundation that makes us human. So in the end, someone with limitless resources had to orchestrate a deadly competition just to feel real friendship again, revealing how profoundly isolating extreme wealth can be. Ilnam's presence among the Squid Game participants also represents the idea of coming full circle. When someone ascends to the very top of the wealth hierarchy like Ilnam, there's a point where there's nothing left above them. It's as if they hit a ceiling and the only place left to go is back to the beginning, to the lowest social class. Ilnam's name in Korean means first man or number one man, which is a very obvious clue that he was the mastermind from the very beginning. In a show deeply concerned with the hierarchy, it's fitting that the literal number one sits at the very top of the pyramid. There were also multiple clues that Ilnam was never in danger, such as the red light green light scanner completely ignoring him. He's often shown smiling and enjoying the chaos as others were dying, also during the riot scene where he sits in a high bunk visibly amused. Until things get too dangerous and he literally tells the frontman through the camera to stop. However, even after the games, Ilnam continues to test human nature. In the finale, on his deathbed, he engages Gihan in one final game, a bet on whether a stranger will help a collapsed drunk man on the street before midnight. So this final bet encapsulates Ilnam's cynicism versus Gihan's hope. Ilnam believes that no one will help without incentive. However, Gihan eventually wins when someone steps in to help, proving Ilnam was wrong just as he dies. It's a quiet but powerful resolution to their philosophical conflict. Also in that last scene, Ilnam is surrounded by medical equipment, gazing down at the city from a skyscraper, visually separated from the common people below, playing God one last time. But even after Ilnam's death, his presence still lingers. The games continue, a warped legacy left behind by the first man of this cruel world. After Ilnam's death, his body is mummified and placed in the corridors of the Squid Game office, almost like a deity in this death-worshipping cult. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think about the third season of Squid Game? And do you think we'll see another show in the same Squid Game universe? Leave your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to join the Patreon for extra support. Also, like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel for more content. My name is Croft and I'll see you in the next video.